This conference will now be recorded.
I'm going to call the planning and zoning meeting to order. If everyone will rise, we'll have an invocation and a pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for all that you do for us. Continue to keep us safe, keep us healthy, and keep us safe as we leave here tonight. In your name I pray. Amen. Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will entertain a motion for agenda approval. I have a motion to approve the agenda. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Minutes approval for October 17th, 2022, planning and zoning meeting. Motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from October 17, 2022.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Thank you.
Aye. Any opposed, no? Let me do that again. I didn't hear any.
I didn't hear any.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda 5 is public hearing, and our business today is Mark Lazarus with Wild Water and Wheels rezoning request from amusement plan development and highway commercial zoning to planned development at 910 Highway 17 South, Surfside Beach. We will do this much like we did at our last meeting. They have a few changes from their last presentations, so I'm going to allow them to make their presentations, and then after that, then we'll have public comments. So just bear with us. I know we got a big crowd here tonight, so.
Isn't there any way this meeting could be postponed until we have a larger venue to accommodate everyone that came out here this evening?
Yeah.
Yes, everyone should be able to be in attendance.
I agree, and I agree with you. I've never seen, in my 23 years, I've never seen this many people.
Well, these are our homes, and we're concerned about our homes here.
I agree.
And we all
Can
should
we make
have
a
a
motion
voice.
to adjourn the meeting until we can get a bigger venue?
Yes, please, yes, I second.
motion to do so.
Yeah, we can't do that. This is an advertised meeting.
Well,
I
everybody
understand.
that is coming is already here.
I understand
We've
that,
got people that are not out in here from outside.
I understand, and it's very inconvenient.
It's not right.
Those are the people that are outside will be allowed to come in and speak.
But they
And I'm
should
sorry,
be
they're gonna miss,
inside
they're
to
gonna
hear
miss the
what is going
presentation.
on.
Yes, ma'am, I agree.
Well, then postpone this
Can.
until we get a bigger venue.
Don't they have a dollar? Can we make a motion from the floor?
Yeah, we can't do that. I'm sorry.
If you can do whatever you want to do, you're stifling our
According to
voices.
FOIA regulations, this is an advertised meeting, and
You must have a better venue than you have here, venue.
I understand that it's an advertised meeting, however, there's many people that are unable to be inside this building, so it's unfair to the people who are outside waiting.
I agree.
So I'm not sure what rules or procedures you're following, but I would like to make a motion to postpone this meeting until we can find a venue.
Yeah, we can't make motions from the floor. The only motion would be made would be from the
So if
commission
somebody up
members.
there,
Yeah, well,
then
somebody
please
step
make a
up.
motion.
Yeah, step up and do it.
Sure. People outside that would very much like to be in here so that we can all be part
Right.
of that.
There's more
I
than
mean-
100 people outside
We need a
that would
Man,
like to
we-
get in here. Just
According to procedure, we have to start the meeting. So, Mark, are you guys ready to make your presentation?
if we could, that would be the
Yes.
part that people would like to see. I'm
Yes,
sorry.
absolutely.
I realize you guys are trying to run a meeting and I apologize. I'm
Ladies,
trying to be unruly,
ladies,
but we do need.
I mean, I hate to do this, and I understand your point, but you are out of order. And please let us continue with the
You're
meeting.
out of order, not allowing the people to be involved in this.
Mark, you guys ready?
What does out of order mean anyway? I'll do that.
Whenever you're ready. Are you ready?
Yep,
All right.
ready.
All right. So that those inside can hear me, and I'll speak and I'll address the commission tonight. And depending on what happens tonight, if it moves forward and goes, and when it moves forward to town council, if town council chooses to, they can have additional hearings and they can have separate public meetings just for this rezoning. Make sure that the information that's in regards to this rezoning gets presented to everybody that does have questions. So we've made it, we made some changes since the last meeting. We did hear what the commission had. So with that, we'll go through the presentation. Some of the topics we talked about last time were the finances and tax generation, some of the expenses the town may incur, which we may have to get into later on at another meeting as we get into that. Aerial maps, stormwater. So tax generation, as currently taxed, all the properties generate roughly 15,000 or 11,580 in property taxes, 3,600 in business license, and about 23,000 in hospitality fees, as it's currently done. The planned development, which is a $40 million roughly multifamily portion, and that's slightly less than we talked about last time because we'll show you the change we made to reduce the number of units, so that we included in the project, as well as about.
Who are you? Can you tell us? Yeah, you need to introduce yourself.
Sure.
Are you a lawyer?
Well, I will speak out loud, but please don't interrupt me again until after I'm done my presentation. My name is David Schwerd, and I am the Chief Operating Officer of Diamond Shores, and I am representing as the engineer of the project. I am not the developer of this project. I am not the owner of the property. All I have done tonight is put together a plan. The plan tries to address needs such as stormwater, traffic, density, and some of the other issues that were brought up by the commission's things that they wanted to have changed. So we'll actually get to all those things in terms of unit counts. If you let me do the presentation, I'm sure that the commission will then allow you to ask those questions and we'll be able to address them.
There will be plenty of time at the end after the presentation.
And at the last meeting, I did stay for as long as they allowed us basically to answer those questions. So the planned development has a commercial portion. We have changed that now. Originally, it was just the two portions up front. We've added a third building to that to increase the tax value of that to about $2 million. Based on the current millage rate, that would be about $108,000 in property taxes. Also, any hospitality taxes, if there was a restaurant or something to be located in one of those commercial units. There are other things that would be accommodated here. Since this is a rental property as currently planned, there would be a business license that would have to be obtained as part of that rental, which would generate about another $15,000+ a year in business license revenue. Plus, this would be a residential property. So those residences, when they register cars, would be paying a road tax fee, which according to the way the county now collects it, would be refunded partially back to the town. I think about 85% of what they collect gets refunded to the town. That would generate about $17,000 a year for the town in road fees. Building permit fees on a project like this are going to run about $120,000 or more, up to $150,000 depending on the number of inspections and plan reviews that we have to have during that project. And as I stated, that's also going to generate hospitality if there's any restaurants or anything located in those out parcels that are along 17, which is something that the plan calls for. So kind of giving you an aerial overview of where the property is. You see 17, there's the corridor west of 17, where the area in blue on this project. Stormwater was a question that was brought up last time. A lot of people said, what kind of stormwater do we have on this? It's just paving over everything and it's going to flood us. This is the current impervious map. Everything that you see that is in gray is currently impervious. That means water does not drain through that into the ground. The blue areas are the current ponds that are on the site. The green are the areas that are not paved over. So currently there's 2.3 acres on that are pervious and 1.07 acres of pond. As you can see again, there it is. This is the proposed plan, which we'll go back to in a second. The proposed plan has 5.5 acres of pervious and an additional ½ acre of pond. So that's 3 acres more of pervious area and another ½ acre of pond. So we are definitely decreasing the stormwater impact of this project and increasing the amount of stormwater retention on this project. Traffic was another thing that was discussed. The current traffic on that, it's hard to do right now because we don't have counts since the facility is closed. But based on the number of tickets that they sell on an annual or on a daily basis, how many people come, how many people go, the number of parking spots, the proposed or the current trip generation there is about 2,500 units or trips a day. And that the way trips are calculated for those that have, that's when I show up, that's a trip. When I leave, that's another trip. Those are two separate trips, the way trips are counted. And that's standard practice from the Institute of Traffic Engineers, which I am a member of that organization, so ITE. This proposed mixed use is generating about 2,550 ADTs. That's 310 apartments. As I said, we did reduce the number of apartments. The trade shop facility, which is that second row commercial that we talked about, and then the retail component. And these are standard trip measures in terms of number of ADTs that are generated for a total of 2,550. Last time we did talk about, well, what we really want to see over there would be commercial. But then we also had a lot of people who had questions about traffic. Well, if this was to be developed as a commercial entity, you're looking at about 4,400 ADTs, and that's on the lower end of commercial development. If they were to develop this more larger scale retail component, I don't know that they would or not, depending on the density of housing and the income levels around what they see. But if they were to go 100% retail, you're closer to 10,000 ADTs, not 4,400. Either way, developing the majority of that property as commercial is going to generate a significant amount more traffic than developing it as mixed use. Now, peak traffics will be different with residential and commercial. Commercial is more spread, has peaks at dinner time and things like that, whereas residential has the morning and evenings depending on when they show. Typically with apartments, however, you don't have as large a peak as you do in a single family home. Just because of employment habits and things like that, they happen to be different employments. So we talked about what kind of apartments are these going to be? These are not low-end apartments. These are luxury apartments. And while you see these pictures on the screen, there's probably a reason that you may recognize some of them, because these are patterned after some other apartments that are here in Horry County. There's a large apartment complex in Market Commons, which is one of those that you see there on the left. And then there's the ones that are in Carolina Forest, the ones that they're building down on the south end of Merle's Inlet by Home Depot. These are very large luxury type of units. They have 1,600 to 2,200 a month. That's an actual picture there from one in Horry County where they have the amenities in place. These are top of the line amenities, stainless steel appliances, granite countertops, 9-foot ceilings, luxury vinyl plank for most of the things, fitness center and pool that is on site. The next two slides are about the history of the property, which we can get into if you want, that talk about what this property has given to the town. This property basically was a way for the town to provide water and sewer on the other side of the road, and it allowed for the town to pick up the majority of that commercial that is along 17. And we can get into that if you want to specifically talk about it. But the project itself, some of the other things that we did that were, and we'll go back to the plan so we can discuss this plan. And there we go. So we did some things with the plan in the past, and I'll speak loud so that I can walk to the screen and then still present, and you'll still be able to pick me up on the mic. So one of the things that we did in this way here is originally we had these two commercial up here, and there was a residential building here and just one residential in the back. We actually decreased the number of residential units, removed this building from being residential, and added another commercial space in that location to increase the amount of commercial that was in it, and it being second row behind an adjacent commercial so that it would match with the actual depth of the commercial that is along that line. This property line here, we moved the access back. There's currently a drive here, even though it's gated. At the very front of the project, we actually moved that drive to the back to make sure that cars turning off of the frontage road would be able to make it successfully down that frontage road and have time to be able to move out of the way and turn left into the commercial site, so that you don't have an issue where people are trying to turn left immediately in there and causing a stacking problem on the frontage road. We also added an additional access to this location here to honor an old agreement to make sure that this property owner here maintained access to the back of their commercial property. And there may have some small changes that need to be done here to accommodate that we'll be able to do when it comes in, assuming we ever make it to the plan review part of it. We did talk about the parking, and I'm not going to ignore that fact. Last time we talked about the fact that we are looking for a parking standard that is different than the current parking standard for the town. And the reason being is the commercial property up front will meet the parking standards for the town. The residential standards, we're looking to meet standards that are the same standards that are in effect for Horry, Myrtle Beach, North Myrtle Beach. And the reason being, the town has a specific parking standard, which is one space per bedroom, which entirely makes sense. It's something that other jurisdictions have done with similar circumstances that the town has, which is you have a significant number of beach proximate rentals. And so with that being said, if you don't make them provide a parking space for every bedroom, what happens is they start parking in the streets. And that becomes a significant issue. And this fact that it's going to be west of 17, the fact that they're internal to their own parking, we still believe that providing standards that meet the standards that the other jurisdictions use in this area would meet that standard. Now, with that said, if this body sees fit that they want to meet those parking standards, the way to do that would be removing the building, and that provides more than adequate spaces on this project to meet the parking demands. But as a planner, I think that would be short-sighted to require that additional parking area because it's not going to be used in great detail, and two, it's going to generate a lot less tax revenue for the town as a parking lot than it would be as a commercial trade or a retail building or whatever you choose to approve when it comes time as a planning commission. So that's the only real standard that we're looking. Now, the other thing we did talk about is height. Last time we had a height in there which was reflective of what the commercial standard was, and since it was a mixed-use PDD, we had that height in there. We have only ever asked for a 4-story building, and so we've reduced that height down to a 50-foot height limit. And the reason it's a 50-foot height limit, even though it's only 4 stories, is the way height is measured in the town, which goes to the highest point of the structure. Many other jurisdictions measure to halfway between the bottom and the top of the highest living section. Since the town actually measures to the top, and if we go to some of these other pictures in terms of the type of unit that we're providing, you'll see the aesthetic nature of these structures, which has lofts and architectural detail that is higher than the 4th floor. But aesthetically, it makes it a much more pleasing product. And so that's why we're asking for the 50, but still limiting it to 4 stories. So it's not 50 foot is our height limit and we can go all the way up to that and put a 5th story on it. We're still 4 stories is the most that we want. That being said, some of the reasons we looked at doing the 4 stories, one, it allows us to have more pervious area on this so we could protect some of that open area that we show on that project. All the buildings, of course, they're higher end apartments, so they will have elevators. Of course, they're 4 stories, so they have to have elevators. Some of the things that we did look at in the layout of this project were some of the comments that we had received from the fire and police in terms of fire access and things. So what we did is we made sure that we have 2 points of access to the project, and that those 2 points of access are longer and far enough apart so that they meet fire code. We increased the radiuses on all the curves so that we don't have cars that are parking out and making it too tight for the fire trucks to make a turn, because as a former plan reviewer, that was a pet peeve of mine, is having a large truck, especially on a truck for these 4-story buildings, because you're going to have a ladder if you ever have to get up there. You need to be able to make your way around. And so we did create wider fire access roads and even enlarge the width of some of the parking lanes in those fire roads so that it was easier to get around. As far as the design, all of it, of course, will have to have parking lot lighting, meeting the requirements. Some of the other things that I've discussed with a potential developer of this project was one of the concerns that I got, not from this meeting, but actually had several residents calling me, asking about the project, because I did make my number available to them last time and told them they could call me. Many of them called and asked about the fact that this number of residents was going to create a serious issue with parking at the beach with their free decals that they would get from the town of Surfside being residents. And the potential developer of this project has agreed that, they would even put it in the PDD that they don't necessarily or even support any kind of ordinance change that would need to be made. They don't need to have resident parking decals for the beach parking for the residents of this apartment complex. They've been potentially looking at alternative shuttle services to run back and forth to the beach as an amenity for their residences, going back and forth on like a half-hour basis kind of thing. So they did look at that because that is a significant concern. Every beach town in this area has parking issues in terms of, what do you charge? How many spaces do you have? Do you need to build up? Or the other alternative we looked at is the possibility of if the town looked at ever increasing their parking and they needed capital demands, if that's something that comes to fruition during the discussion of this project, we could look at incorporating that within the plan development as a way to help them fund some of those improvements the town would need to make those additional parking spaces available for the residents of this project. So with that, I think, we also remove the mini warehouse use. And if there's any other specific commercial uses, we're more than open to discuss those and the possibility of removing those from that plan. We tried to honor the comprehensive plan that the town has in terms of keeping that commercial out there on 17. But the uses that we listed originally were just uses that were copied over from the highway commercial district. And like I said, we're more than happy to discuss if there's any uses that you wish to have stricken from that list. So with that, I turn it back over to you as commission, and if you have any questions for me, and then I'll stick around and we'll let them make their piece, and then I'll try to address any questions that I can address from their questions that they present.
Thank you. Any questions from the commission?
So first,
Alex?
yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Acknowledge listening to a couple of bits of feedback around parking the height. You reduced the apartment count by 25. I have a little bit of trouble with the math around the average daily trips. On your previous version, it was 8.6 per unit. Now we'll drop to 5.6. So by taking away 25 units doesn't impact but we get it. That's not
the current count is rounds up to 6 trips a day, which is a standard trips per apartment complex.
Okay. Also want to acknowledge that I appreciate the capitalist nature of a developer or an owner. I just do the rents that you provided times 310 units. That's just about $7 million throw in the commercial rent. Even if you're highly leveraged and half of that goes out the door, just paying back a loan to build it, plus another $1 million just to run the logistics, right? That's a couple of $1 million a year, right? That's good use of property. My concerns are the slippery slope of precedence, one, but I'll circle back to that. But you mentioned expenses, and I did do some more math on the expenses, so I want to share with you what is really troubling to me.
Sure.
So Surfside Beach has got about 72 staff. Just, you mentioned Myrtle Beach, and hey, you took pictures of Myrtle Beach and marked comments and other areas. And, like, it's that analogy that is like, no, like that's a concern for me, because Myrtle Beach has got 975 staff, North Myrtle Beach 480 staff. We're actually thin relative to the towns around us. So we've got 1 employee in town for every 61 residents. Myrtle's 1 employee for every 36, North Myrtle 41, right? So I'm getting down to granular stuff here. Public safety, we've had 33, 34 people, that's police and fire, for 10 years, right? Our population is growing, that hasn't gone up. Population is the biggest driver of staffing. federal level, state level, local government, us here in Surfside. So if I take our 72 staff we've got now, and knowing that population is the biggest driver of that, just for everything from number of police calls, fire, people getting a parking permit, paying a fee fine, all that stuff. If I just take the incremental 1,000 people, now that we've knocked down some of the apartment units, that produces 16 incremental heads on a linear basis. Probably don't need 16 more heads, but earlier I mentioned how lean we were running a town compared to other towns. So I knocked that way down to needing 5 heads. Figure we hire them at 45 grand, you got to fully burden them because the town pays taxes on them, pensions, benefits, all that stuff. That's 60 grand a head, just frontline workers. That's $300,000 just in staff, not using linear math, saying if we skinny this way down and don't do what other towns did and just keep things really lean, that's 300 grand. Probably need at least 1 cop car. So I think there's a take your car with you plan, throw a few axes in there for the firemen, a couple other radios and all that kind of stuff. We're at, throw another 75,000, that's 375. So just that basic dumbed down math is already less than what this would bring in incrementally. So this project costs the town money there. But property taxes are actually a smaller portion of this town's revenue. Most of our revenue, like it or not, as a resident, I paid property tax. I think I'm entitled to everything. Most of our revenue comes from tourism. $3 million from my property taxes and everybody else's property taxes. It's over $6 million directly tied to tourism or a really closely dotted line to tourism. If tourists come here as opposed to Myrtle, because there's a little bit more breathing room, has a different vibe to it, and you could sense that just walking on the beach from Ocean Lakes and then get into Garden City, it's a little more elbow room. That elbow room goes away, we lose our hook. We lose our what attracts people here versus going somewhere else. That's $6 million. If I take, there's a couple levers in there. There's vacancies, there's rent amounts, there's number of licenses that people get to rent property. If I take 5% of that away, that's 300 grand. So earlier I mentioned I'm at 375, just hard costs. Now I'm adding 300,000, just my guesstimate on the impact of tourism year 1 of this being. Granted, some of my insights is just reading different comments, people share them with me, like I'm sure you're scouring Facebook too, right? Just gotta take it with a grain of salt. But when people say, I'm out of here, I'm not gonna come here anymore, right? If a small fraction of that is actually truth, and we lose 5% of our tourism revenue, that's 300,000. All of a sudden, this one development costs $700,000 to the town, and we're getting maybe 200,000 all in. And worth noting, last year the water park brought in $80,000, so the incremental was only about 120. That was an off year. I think Mr. Lazarus shared that would have survived had it not been for COVID subsidies. So probably previous years was a lot higher than that. So I don't think this is an increase in revenues. I still firmly stance that this is a high increase in expenses. And our financial ecosystem that's very delicate, which is a lot different than Myrtle and North Myrtle, which don't rely on tourism as much as we do here. I don't want to rock that boat. And what you shared with me here is you acknowledged a few things, but we still have a lot of apartments that changes our financial ecosystem of a tourist-based town. And it's really, really difficult to think of how do you have an example of a town that prospered by growing 20% via one complex?
So one thing that we need to discuss when we start discussing those numbers, once again, like I said, I do have an economics background. So the thing that hasn't been taken into account in all that is the multiplier effect of the money that is spent by those residents. So each of those residents is going to go to the grocery store, they're going to go to the restaurant, they're going to go shopping. The multiplier effect, and a lot of people don't like to think about it because it's hard to see or grasp. I know that you can, obviously by the research you've done. The multiplier effect, according to the National Association of Multifamily Housing Council, which of course they have a vested right, obviously, but it's about 21 times every dollar. In terms of the dollar spent, it's multiplied 21 times for multifamily housing, specifically to them in terms of what they spend. So those are going to be the restaurants that they shop in Surfside, the places where they buy stuff in Surfside, the groceries that they buy in Surfside. So that will generate additional revenue from those, which then the town will collect because those are restaurants that are going to additionally sell. And those are year-round revenues that won't die off in the fall and winter time. And also that then will increase those assessed property values of those commercial properties because those are generating more revenue. So there will be additional revenue. It won't be directly, it's an indirect. And we are working with an entity to provide a financial report to council that would go over what those benefits would be to the town. I can't speak to them now because I don't want to misstate anything and I don't want to give you inaccurate information. So I can only give you the information I have. In terms of whether it affects the economic balance, I'll wait for that report to provide to you. I can tell you taxes and revenues and those things that are direct because those are easy to calculate, but I can't do the indirect costs and what that multiplier effect would in turn generate in terms of value for the town. But I can tell you that there's much more evidence for towns that don't grow not being successful than there are for towns that grow and become successful. So you have to grow to be successful. In many instances, not all. And whether this town chooses that it wants to remain small, which is a valid point, and I'm not going to argue it, the town has that ability. That's why they have you guys and the council make that decision. I can tell you that if you are going to develop this property, that it's going to have less traffic than commercial, and you're going to have a much higher product in this type of residential than you would if you had single family, which single family notoriously generates. And I was part of the impact fee study committee in 3 separate jurisdictions now, including Horry County twice, 3 times actually in Horry County, but in other jurisdictions. I can tell you that multifamily generates less negative impacts to direct impacts to a town or county budget than a single family product would. So developing it as multifamily versus single family, to me as a town looking at finances, it's much more efficient. Being the fact that these are nicer apartments, higher end apartments. So one of the things I started doing was Horry County has a 48-hour crime traffic tracker, GIS map that you can go to, and it updates every night. And I go on it, and I've been going on it for a month, just to look at the different similar apartment complexes to see what kind of notices they were generating. You know, of the months that I've been following it, I think I've seen 3, and all of them have been vehicle break-ins. Now, different apartment complexes, as your police would tell you, generate different kinds. So I also went and I started looking at trip generation for schools, because that was a question that was brought up last time. Not that this town has control over the school system, but of a very similar apartment complex in a nearby town, which I don't want to say because it's a bad town, only generates 9 students, and they have the larger unit number of counts that we previously had, and they generate 9 students out of that project. So there's not a significant student generation coming out of these kind of projects. I've already told you that they don't need to have the free parking or would contribute to additional parking, as that is a need in the town. And in terms of commercial, I think that you're going to see a large benefit to some of your local establishments in the off season that you currently don't see now. And I, even though I don't live in Surfside, actually do come down to this area quite a bit for the shoulder room on the beach, and also because of the restaurants that I like. Some of them are, even though they're not the biggest restaurants around, they take quality into account, and that's why I go there.
So
you're going to have those those restaurants are going to benefit from the year-round residents that are here. I can't argue indirect costs that would be, or indirect revenue that you would generate. But you obviously can look at the direct costs, and I don't think that your numbers are probably too far off in terms of costs that would be coming to the town. I just think before we make a decision based on that, we need to wait till we have those additional indirect revenues that would be generated as a benefit to the town.
Thank you. Appreciate the detailed response. I think the multiplier that you shared about incremental sales throughout town, probably accurate in a non-tourist based town, but when you have a tourist that we thrive off of, and he sees a line with 3 residents versus 1 resident, right, you lose some sales at the same time. So I think it's a net zero. You referenced growth, right? You grow or die. Let me share with you my perception of growth. Myrtle Beach, well, I'll start with Surfside Beach. The debt per resident is $2,955, $2,955. Myrtle Beach, grow or die. The debt per resident is $11,000. North Myrtle Beach, grow or die. The debt per resident is 50% higher than ours at $3,500. the expenses per resident follows the same thing. I'll spare you the details, but there is a part of this that says maybe survival for a tourist town that's got a niche is to not follow, there's a roadmap out there that leads to high debt, high expenses. We need to grow and get more property taxes this year or we're bust. And then the year after, they're worse shape, right? There's towns right up the street from us that are incurring debt to replace boards on a boardwalk that hasn't even been paid for, right? That's grow or die, right? That's repairing a car that you haven't paid for.
I would have to debate that that's not serving necessarily the residents as much as it is the tourists, so.
There you go. But the end result is the residents are the ones that make up the town, they own the debt. So I just share a different vision for you than you of what this town is. And I'll finish with this. So stop sucking all the air out of the room. Our charge in the first sentence of our charter, if you will, it says, the words exactly are, the planning commission is tasked with promoting orderly and coordinated growth and development within the town. So if I take that seriously, that's not adding 1,000 people with a couple of votes. So that's a tough one.
Somebody's got to keep order. Any other comments from the commission?
We're gonna have another chance.
Ian?
Yeah, I'd like to comment after the public comments. Is that gonna happen?
I might let you do that.
Either that or I'll say it all night.
We can wait. I mean, that's all right with y'all? You good? Okay, all right.
That sounds good. I will let the public speak.
Thank you. Okay, not everybody at one time. Just raise your hand. I'm gonna recognize you best I can. Ladies first, I'm gonna let you come. Come up to the mic. Yeah. Procedure is just state your name and your address.
I've talked before. I'm shy.
And don't touch the microphone.
Okay, I'll stand up here. Okay, my name is Sean Fallon. I live at 411 Cedar Drive North, right in town, Surfside. I am totally against this growth. Totally. I moved here 6 years ago, retired 37 years from DC. I wanted a small town effect. I moved here with my daughter and now I have a granddaughter. We want 3 generations to grow in this small town environment. Okay? Questions, one of the things that was brought up by the gentleman about residents, shopping, and restaurants. Well, I don't know about all of you, but when the tourists come to town and they leave their money here, I go elsewhere. Okay? My shopping, the Walmart, the Target, is not in Surfside. So there's no shopping benefit for the locals, okay? We're not shopping at Piggly Wiggly and Food Line. We're going for the sales. So that's one thing that is definitely a negative. Residents don't stay here and shop and eat, maybe when the tourists leave. Right now, this happened a couple meetings ago where the fire and police chief both responded with their stats that we're at our limit with them serving our town. Okay, they do the best job they can possibly do. You cannot add this development and think that I'm going to be able to get a 911 call in and be safe in my house. Because they have too many people. If this gets added, that's just 2 more. And then we're going to have to add more salary, like this gentleman said. And we don't want that. We want a small town, point blank. And one other thing that has to be explained to me, this whole complex, does this fall under the entire town of Surfside? If it does, this is going to crush us. People don't come here. They don't come here. They do come here because we are Surfside, small. They stay out of Myrtle Beach, what some people call it Murder Beach, because there's too much crime down there compared to here. We're going to lose our tourist dollar, and that's our most income. So stay small.
Thank you.
How you doing? I'm Joseph Whipple. I live 1016 Montage Commons. Real quick, what was your name again, sir?
David.
David, would you mind pulling up the slide that showed the fiscal parts with the taxes? If you wouldn't mind for me, please. I don't want to touch your computer.
It's not my computer, it's in town, so they generously provided it for us to have tonight.
So my question is that at this price point, because you're advertising and promoting it as a luxury apartment complex, so you're pricing it at a point where.
So you want the taxes or you want
Correct,
the?
taxes, please.
Okay.
So you're pricing it at a point where it's not an available living situation for your average person at an average medium income.
Mhm.
So essentially now, and I'm sorry, but we are a small town here. I've been a resident of South Carolina since 1985. I'm sure people can hear me. My concern is that at that price point, and being that we don't have a huge job market here that creates additional revenue, is that this is going to be targeting seniors. Okay, so now you have people who are not working that can't afford this type of level of income, housing. They also get homestead exemptions. You get a lot of veterans like myself who are 100% disabled, who I don't have to pay property tax. So they're going to be exempt. Are you taking any of these factors into account with the projections that you came up with?
I don't typically respond, but these are rentals, so homestead exemption is not factored.
Okay, so all units are going to be rentals?
All rentals.
Okay, so then my next question would be, as far as going to the parking, I'm sorry, with the parking, residents that live in Surfside Beach proper in the town are permitted for the parking, and you're suggesting to make an exception not benefiting people. So what would be the point in them not receiving the same benefit as the rest of the residents in the city? You see where I'm getting at with the parking? I mean, because that's something that a lot of people that move here, they fight with all year long with the parking. Even out of season, you still fight with it down there. But now, if that's one of the benefits of being a resident in the city, I don't understand why that would have to come into play, because if it's free, well, then charge them and still offer it, but then make it a chargeable thing, instead of just saying you can't have it, even though you're a resident and you're a resident, he's a resident, and he can have it, but you can't. There's an opportunity to generate revenue. I don't know, but I'm totally against this too. We're big enough here.
Harry, you next.
Good evening, Harry Coleman, 10th Avenue North. First, I want to thank all the residents for coming out tonight. I put this on Facebook. I thought it was really important, and you did a great job. Everybody's here. Unfortunately, there's not enough room, but we have to notify the council that we want a bigger venue for when it goes before council. What happens here tonight is they're going to hear what we have to say, hear what Mr. Lazarus' team has to say, and probably going to make a decision to make a recommendation. After that recommendation, the council doesn't have to take it, or they will take it. And that's where the really important. It's important you came tonight, but it's really important that this goes before council. Now I want to talk about this. Increasing this town from 4,000 people to 1,000 people in less than a year after it's developed, it's crazy. I've been here 14 years. Maybe 200-300 in difference, goes up, it goes down. But 25% of the town will be new people across the way in apartment buildings in a little area. Not good. It's going to be 310 rental units. 310. If they mentioned the thing by Home Depot. Have you anyone gone over it? You go down 17 business and you go over it and you connect with 17 bypass and you go, oh my God, Look at that. Not good, but bad. Oh my God, look at all those buildings. Well, that's gonna be where Wild Water on Wheels is. No. And the parking. You want to change the ordinance because you don't want to put enough parking in? And the stormwater, you show the picture of the stormwater, it's gonna be better? No, it's not. I put a pool in my backyard. My pool doesn't count as pervious or impervious, I don't know, whatever it is. It's like a catch basin. The water comes down from the sky and it stays in the pool. It doesn't run off. He showed you a thing that looked like all ground. It's gonna run off. That's not the way. It has pools that collect the water. And now you're gonna have a bunch of parking lots and apartment buildings. Stormwater is not good. The increase of traffic is definitely, the frontage road is terrible to begin with. Now imagine added another 1,000 people with cars coming in and out of that area. No good. The police department and the fire department already submitted things to the committee about how it's gonna be a huge impact. Now, it might not make more crime, but it's definitely gonna be more calls for service. That's a definite. You add more people, you add 23% more people, you're gonna at least have 23% more of calls. So that means if something's happening at your house, you're getting burglarized or robbed, they might not get there in the same amount of time because they're gonna be handling a dispute or an 80 case over in those apartments. You might have an officer that's all he's gonna do is sit right around his apartments, which is 1/5 of that whole town. The whole town is gonna be sitting right there. The beach parking, yeah, I know. We won't give them stickers. If anyone knows what's going on, I mean, I'm the chairman of the parking committee. We hear it all the time. I live in 29575. Why don't I get a sticker? Well, you don't live in the town. Now you're gonna have people who pay our taxes who don't get stickers. The biggest revenue generator we have in this town is the rental units, right? It's a nice, quiet town. People come here. It's a family beach. They come here and you can sit down at the beach without being crowded. We had another 1,000 people, stickers or no stickers, the beach is gonna be crowded. Now, why would I pay anywhere from $3,000 to $10,000 a week to sit on a beach that's crowded? I'm going somewhere else. That's how I came here. I couldn't believe that you can rent a house and sit on a beach that's not like Coney Island. I mean, really. But we're gonna add 1,000 people. Don't worry about it. We're not gonna give them stickers. It's not gonna impact us. Come on, folks. And one last point. If you let them do this, there's a ton of lots on that corridor.
Time.
If it happens, if you let it happen for them, all those lots are gonna be able to be changed. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm at 315B Lakeside Drive. And I just want to say, Surfside Beach has a vision of the family beach. And it has it for a reason.
We can't hear you back.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, just speaking to the.
Surfside Beach has a vision of the family beach for a reason. And that all changes. And any changes to the zoning should be directed toward that vision. Wild Water and PD were part of that vision, but now they're going to sell that, and that's why we're here. I am totally against any mixed use in Surfside Beach, since this will set dangerous precedent for the whole town. It wasn't long ago that we created the E District, which was, among other things, to put mixed use to rest. I do not want mixed use to be in Surfside Beach. The planning commission and council previously agreed that the best use of the land is commercial development. I do not believe that any of the rezoning applications that they're submitting here should be amended and related to this project. They shouldn't send it to council, they should deny it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very brief and short, Ann Westcott, 413 Cedar Drive North. This is our town. We don't want this, and we shouldn't have to have it. End of story.
Hello, guys. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for allowing all of us to be able to come today. I am on the other side of the road over here. My name is Kimberly Deline, and I'm over in Ship's Anchor, on Ship's Anchor Court.
If you would talk into the microphone
Yes.
so that the
Sorry,
people
can
at
y'all hear
home
me?
who
I
can't be
usually have
here
a pretty
can
big
hear
mouth.
you.
You can usually hear me. I support Surfside. I mean, I live here. I live outside of the town limits, but I love Surfside. Love where I live. One of the things I have the most concern about is, of course, is the traffic coming from the buildings in that area. Not only is Frontage Road already a problem, but you have 5 communities back there. They're also utilizing those roads. And those who are coming from Glens Bay and cutting through those communities to use Frontage Road. So again, all this traffic is pulling together. I want you to think about the fact too that I don't mind paying to go to your beach. Y'all, I do it. I love Surfside. If I want to park in Surfside, I'm going to park in Surfside, I'm going to pay. I appreciate that y'all pay the taxes for me to be able to do that, you know, and be able to pay my part. But as it is, I can't park here. I can't come to the beach closest to me and park because it's already so overwhelmed. The restaurants, love the restaurants. Malibu is one of my absolute favorites. I can't get parking to park at Malibu if I want to go have dinner until somebody else moves. I mean, I know the parking has expanded around the buildings a little bit, which is great. But think about the fact that I'm an outsider trying to come in and support your town. I'm trying to support, you know, what's here, the restaurants, the shops, and I can't park. Now we're going to add more parking, more cars to this section of town. Sorry. Oh, sorry. We're going to add more cars to this. And again, where are they going to park? I love that Food Line's going to get more business. I love that Malibu is going to get more business. I mean, that's great. But where are we going to put them? Where's the parking going to happen? How are you going to get your reservations? We just keep adding more and more people over here. And even those of us on the other side who support you have a hard time getting there. So just think about how good is the business and how much is it going to take away from you as locals being able to get into those businesses and use them yourself. Even we don't have an off season anymore. Y'all know that. Look at traffic. There's no off season. So just, I appreciate if y'all would just think about that.
Thank you. I got one more behind you. I'm sorry. She's been out about 5 times.
At least 5.
Come on. I'm sorry.
To be in the back of the room with something like this, I'm telling you.
Now you up and down, up and down.
Up, down, up and down. Well, I
Sorry.
need my exercise. Good evening. My name is Kim Simmons. I live over in Harbor Village. You really can't hear me? I'm loud. You guys got my back, so I'm not putting my back to you. You got my back, okay?
You have to talk right into the microphone because not only can they not hear you in the back, the people that are online can't hear you.
Oh, online.
So that's
Well, hello, online people. Obviously, I'm assuming we're all here because of the same thing. We do not want this to happen. And aside from what the gentleman down here said with the police and the fire and the traffic, those are all huge concerns. The other concerns of importance to me are what studies have been done or who has done a study on how this rezoning is going to affect our property values. This is in my backyard. This is happening in my backyard. So that's a huge concern to me that we are going to put apartments in front of my home that are going to negatively affect my property value. The other thing that's going to happen is we already have coyotes roaming around our neighborhood. we're already keep building in all of these animals' homes. What's gonna happen when we continue to put more concrete up? We're gonna have more of this continuing to happen. And then just a question, I'm not sure if anyone's looked into this, but they just built those new luxury ones down the street, the swells. What's the percentage of those apartments that are rented right now?
They're all round.
No, what's the percentage of them that are rented right now?
I know that in the first phase that was actually open, they were actually all rented before they had them open.
Well, because now they're advertising 3 months and reduced rates. So obviously they're not getting people into those. So we're gonna build the same thing here, and it looks very nice. Don't get me wrong, it is a very pretty building. We just don't need it. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Hi, Yvette Hellyer, 720 7th Avenue North. Good evening. Can you hear me okay? I did a comparison of the plan that was prepared for proposed PD against the Surfside Beach Comprehensive Plan. And a lot of changes were introduced tonight that were not in the website. So there may be some differences like the beach height or the height restrictions and so forth. But the PPD for residential and parking design is going to create a high density environment that will stretch our town's police, fire, public works, emergency preparedness, and the building and permitting services. It says in the write-up that there's no study to say that there will be a significant impact, but no study was done, clearly. And I believe that there will be a huge impact to having over 300 apartment complex in a complex built in a 14-acre area as such. The increased volume of discharge that will be generated from sinks, toilets, tubs, showers that are installed in the over 300 apartment complex will in time generate overflows to the drains and stormwater infrastructures that can easily become stressed when we have storms and flooding incidences, which we're already having in town. And all of this is going to impact our town further on down into Surfside Beach, as it's already happening. There needs to be studies on the environmental impact statement that this kind of a 14-acre development could impact us with. The current lack of street infrastructure that is there now will definitely lead to excessive traffic and congestion, especially during the tourist season. There isn't an adequate lighting system. There isn't for traffic light flow. There are no sidewalks. 14-acre lot with 300 plus or more or less apartments. There's no way for people who live there to walk across the street to go to the beach or the library or any of the other town amenities or to bicycle. Everybody's going to have to get in a car to drive into town, which is going to increase the number of cars and increase the number of places that those cars are going to need to park. Therefore, it's going to create more traffic congestion in the town. The 1 and 2 bedroom rentals will take away the perception that we're trying to build that this is a family-friendly town because we're having rentals made available so close to the highway. So I think that that's not exactly the perception that we want to create. I don't think that was what was being fostered in our comprehensive plan for the next 10 years. So all of these infrastructure issues that we're already dealing with and looking at this plan is going to be coming out of our pockets to pay for in the upcoming taxes and the need, because this isn't coming out of the H tax and this isn't coming out of the H fee and the A tax. This would be coming out of our pockets. That's the expense that's going to be needed for construction costs, increased personnel, increased equipment. So I don't see this PPD as fostering the Highway 17 corridor that's part of the comprehensive plan. We need to really look at commercial districts and the commercial zoning, creating that kind of avenue, that vision that we're seeing in this comprehensive plan. We want to have robust commercial districts. That's what's really important to the town. We want to make sure that that kind of building is being done. Right now, taking an overview of what this PPD is planning, you're looking at an apartment complex that's a spot zone, a spot zoning effect. Even if it's bigger than 2 acres, but it's butt up against the flea market behind a commercial frontage with nothing around it that's comparable. So it's just stuck right there in the middle. It doesn't really make sense. So if we're going to put residential on the other side of 17, why not incorporate it more, make it more pleasing, really give it that family-friendly look that we want our town to have, and not just be stuck there. Thank you.
Thank you. You good?
Betty Lowry, 619 4th Avenue North. Some of you know me. I used to sit in one of those chairs. There are several reasons why this shouldn't happen. And I sympathize with the owners. They're in a hard spot. They want to maximize their profit, but not at our expense. If that property is owned residential, and there's not very much of it, it's just that little piece in the front. If that's made residential, the first house that goes there loses that property forever. You cannot tear houses down to put in a business. That should stay a business property. The town's budget is based on business taxes. I heard all kinds of really gigantic numbers, and they sounded wonderful, but it isn't going to change the reality that there are going to be very few business taxes, if any, that will come out of a condo. So you're going to have increased public safety needs. It's just not going to happen. Then you've got to think about hurricanes. We're going to have to evacuate 25% more. And what's being done about infrastructure? You've got roads coming out of there that are barely 2 lanes. I have friends who live in the subdivisions that are behind the water slide. Right now, it's not too bad, but that could change. You start piling houses in on top of each other. Have we not learned anything from the fires at the campgrounds? When you put that many people that close together, you just can't get to them. I have friends who are in the condos that caught fire in Myrtle Beach. She escaped with a couch throw. And that was all she had after the fire. I don't want to see that happen here because we had so many people, not enough facilities to handle that many people. Once you give up business property or the potential of business property, you can't get it back. You cannot get it back. Flooding has been brought up. We have a deal with the county so that they pay us so much for what water comes to us. They don't pay us enough for a 25% of the town to increase. I live above the tertiary dune line, which means that my property doesn't flood. But we have seen close up just this year what can happen. That water is going to be there. And we're not going to be able to do a blooming thing about it. And it's going to come from them into Surfside, and that's that. Now we're looking at either having more businesses or increasing property taxes. How badly do we want those condos? Do you want to pay more taxes? I don't. It's a bad idea. I feel really bad for them. I do. They're in a hard spot. But not on my dime.
Thank you.
Lynn Livesey, 10th Avenue South. I've been in Surfside since '83. We knew streets that had septic tanks, okay? And I would like to thank Mr. Lazarus for the fun that he has provided this community. We have gained such quality, raised our children here, they worked there, they played there, and I'd like to thank him I wish everybody would thank them for the time they spend. This is an issue of quality, not quantity. And I think we're all on the same page. I think everyone in here wants to say that. We're beating the details to death, but that's what it's about. It's quality, not quantity. And moving forward, it is a planned development. It's a PDD. I've sat on this commission too, learned a lot of things, and it was very interesting. But I think we need to go back to the drawing board and be a little bit more creative. We don't need the condos and the high-rise apartments. We need to create something that's going to still draw people to our town, because it is still in our town. What's wrong with trying to figure out a little bit more recreation to put in? If Mr. Lazarus has to leave this area and he's going a different direction, why can't we come up with something creative? It's not that hard, and I really don't think those buildings in the front on the frontage road, the commercial buildings that they're going to put in front of those huge high rises, that's not community friendly at all. The homes that have been in Carapines for years, what's wrong with just expanding Carapines out that way a little if you want homes? But I'm looking to draw people with interest to more community and public events. I can't say children's events, but I know there's things out there that we could put in that area. And I think that the people who are wanting to develop that area, we need to quit pushing the easy button. Building those high-rise apartments is just an easy button. Let's be creative. You can definitely gain revenue from other sources that will give us the tax base. You know, I'm not saying we don't need the tax base, but we don't need it that way. We're doing just fine. We're doing just fine. 4 square miles. That's us. 4 square miles. And we're going across to the west a little. Well, let's bring some quality to the west. Let's not have any more empty strip stores along the frontage. Let's do something with color and fun. And let's all have a Merry Christmas.
Yep. Need the glasses?
Hello, my name's Vivian Stevens. I live at 1301 Manatee Court. I would just like to show you photos of my court that you can pass around just after a few days of rain. So my concern is mostly the water issue, because I live right behind the water park. I'm concerned if they raise it up, if they don't have some way of handling, and I'm thinking sewers or some sort other than just a pond, my house is going to go underwater and I'm going to have no investment. It's the biggest investment I have. I retired here. I wouldn't be able to sell it. I probably couldn't live in it. It's about 15 inches up. During this storm, I had 8 inches of water all the way around my whole yard. Had to take my dog, go to the end of the block at the harbor to let it go out. And that is really my biggest concern. I don't want to be flooded any more than that. That was after about 2 days of rain. So if they're going to raise it up, please have enough sewer or something to move the water, because that whole area, we're an old neighborhood, and we have no way of dispersing all the water. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda Crow, 1016 South Poplar Drive. My concern is that we as residents here in Surfside Beach, we take a lot of pride in our property. We invest a lot of money in our property. If you have all of those homes over there that are rental properties, those people are not going to invest in our community like we do. They are renters. They don't care. We do care. This is our property. These are our homes. And we don't want all of those extra people coming into our small town. If you go to the emergency room now with an injury, you're lucky if you get out of there, or not out, I'm sorry, I misspoke. You're lucky if you get in to see the doctor within 5 hours. You add all those more people to this little community, how long is that 5 hours when you're injured and you want help? How long is it going to take those doctors to see you from the emergency room? I don't believe it's going to be less than 5 hours. What is the impact on our first responders? They're going to have to be more policemen, more firemen added to the workforce. And also, how is our money, when we hire these extra law enforcement and firemen, do you think all of that money to pay for their salary and their benefits is going to come from these people in these rental properties? No. They're not here because they love our little community. They're here because you're building a place to put them, and we don't want them. We like our small town. That's why most of us moved here to begin with, and we don't want this at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, come right here in the front, white shirt. Yep. Next.
My name's Randy Phillips. I live in Carapines, and the only thing I got to say is, look around at everybody here. There's over 100 people outside, and I hadn't heard anybody say yes. We the people say no.
My name is Jerry Bigness. I'm at 1024 South Poplar Drive. I think, and with all due respect, the numbers are off. What is not taken into consideration as far as revenue is, once these people buy these apartments in these townhomes, they're going to be giving them away to their family that are coming from out of state and everything else. And anybody who's got investment income, investment houses are renting out, they're not going to see that money because these people are going to be giving it to their families to stay at. We're going to end up seeing a huge impact. 1024, we are literally right across 17 on South Poplar. All that traffic's going to come in our direction. We already have problems getting out now. Even with the extra light, we have a problem getting out. The only time we can get out in the morning is on, what's that road? Right across from Food Line at that traffic light, Melody Lane. And sometimes you can't get out there because of the traffic coming from Food Line. Increase that with 1,000 people. It's just not going to happen. And lastly, and I apologize, but when you put apartment complexes, you have a higher crime rate than you do residential houses. It's the nature of the beast. There are more crime in apartment complexes than there are 1,000 homes. So 1 or 2 police cars is not going to do it. You're going to have to increase the police force and increase the fire department. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Carolyn Pradlick, 512 13th Avenue North. And I support what most of your speakers have said about keeping our small town feel. But I want to add something that I don't think you all maybe know about or appreciate yet, is the number of people who came to this meeting and who were out in the parking lot. And as a town, we're not even accommodating those additional overflow people who are in the parking lot. Thankfully, the town didn't even have enough foresight to put speakers or something outside so we could hear. Thankfully, Vivian Daniels brought her golf cart in and played what's going on in here outside for the folks who are outside. Imagine how difficult it would be to have a meeting if we had 1,000 more residents. We can't even accommodate a small fraction of what we have thus far. Now, I'm opposed to this, but I would like to know what is the plan for this property if the residential aspect of it is denied by the town, the zoning change to allow residential. What happens to the property where the water park is? What is the plan there?
You have to ask them.
What is the plan?
It's not gonna be a water park, that's all I can tell you.
What,
Unless the town wants to buy it, then I'll, yes.
what do you plan for it to be?
I don't know yet.
So you don't have a plan two if the town says no,
Of course I do.
but you're not willing to share?
It's commercial property, you don't have to be a commercial development then, which is fine. If that's what the town wants is a commercial development, but, and that's fine. But that's what it'll be, is a commercial development, there won't be any apartments.
So why not opt for a commercial development from the get-go rather than adding residential?
Because that's not what the purchaser, I'm not developing it. The purchaser, that's what the business they're in, that's the way they want to develop it. If the town sees that that's not the option for it, then I'll have to go back to the drawing board, put it back up for sale again, and wait for some suitors. But there's nobody gonna buy it as a water park. I've been trying that.
No, I understand that.
You can only address the
Okay,
back on.
I think we all understand that
I'm
it's
sorry.
not gonna be a
Right.
water park any longer, but let's hear what the options are, because
Well,
that's,
I'm not sure he knows
I
right now.
understand,
So, and we certainly are not privy to it. We just gotta deal with one subject at a time.
but maybe the town and its citizens should be weighing more than one option for the property, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think
Let's-
obviously they need to look at what's the permitted use on that property instead of coming in as a PUD. That's my opinion. But go ahead, I didn't need to take your time.
That's okay, I've taken enough time, thank you very much, and please don't allow this to proceed.
Thank you, thank you. Right? Yeah. Just form an orderly line.
My name is Jeff Wells. I live at 415A Fifth Avenue South.
Excuse me.
All right, hang on one second, guys. Jeff,
Yes, sir.
do that one more time.
My name is Jeff Wells. I live at 415A Fifth Avenue South. I just echo, I was outside, unfortunately. I just want to say, if you're going to be doing hearings like this, anticipate it, contact a church or school or something like that to accommodate everybody. I moved here because the family atmosphere, you've heard that probably 20 times tonight. I moved here also because we have fantastic police, fire, and public works. No one's talked about public works, more trash pickups, all the other stuff that goes with that. When I was out there, I don't know, someone said that they don't live here, but I like coming here because of restaurants. I don't know if it was you or one of the people here, and they were trying to explain that they like coming here for that, but they don't live here. My point about it is, if you lived here, you would know the amount of traffic. It's almost like gridlock here with season. You're going to drop another 1,000 people in here and expect to do it on our dime? That's, you need to come down here and live here, experience it, and then be able to better understand before you try to develop something. I just, thank you, Sabrina. I just did a huge remodel. I spent another $200,000. And if I knew that there's going to be that much stuff coming here, I'd probably rethink that. And I took 18 months to be able to get my permit. And I would really rethink that. I love this town. I'm passionate about this town. I love public works. I like everything about this town. Police, fire, public works. Sabrina, your department, overworked and underappreciated. And I don't know what another 1,000 people are going to do to it. That's all I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Cynthia Good, and I live in Mallard Landing Village, which is behind Wild Water and Wheels. I've been here 22 years. I love you guys. I love my city. I just don't want the houses, and I don't want the condos. Keep it commercial. I don't care what kind of commercial, but family oriented, something for family. We are a family beach. Keep it family. And I'm not going to be a dead horse, because you guys are going to do what you want anyways. But I just wanted you to know how I felt. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Good on. Next.
Alex. My name's Mike Fatzik, and I own Comfort Air. I've been here since 1979 when this beach was God's country. And the way it's grown, 221 Carapine Drive. I'm right down the street.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm worried about a lot of things. One, the crime, the traffic. I mean, I have the stop sign in front of my house and they run it day. You could sit there and watch 20 people in 3 hours go through the stop sign. A dog's been hit. He's already been killed. People come and do speeding through, not stopping. I'd also like to say that, like I said, this was God's country, and you've done a good job managing things till now. But this is unacceptable. We don't need apartments on 17. People driving through are going to look at this slum city here, you know? We need some form of entertainment in there. Movie theater, Dunkin' Donuts, something that's going to draw people. The last thing we need is condos. We got enough, we're filled to the brim as it is, and you're just going to make it worse. Are you for?
Y'all keep looking at me. It's making me nervous.
Well, I didn't know if you was the company coming in or not.
No, I live in the town. I live in the town. I'm here.
Well, then y'all live in the town.
Yeah, we all do.
I mean, why this big eyesore of people? Traffic is, I'll take my sweatshirt off. But the traffic now is bad. In the summertime, it's 10 times worse. And you're gonna add 1,000 more people coming in and out of there. It's gonna be a gridlock. Then you're gonna have people taking shortcuts down the side roads, and they're gonna be hitting dogs and everything else. It's ridiculous. We don't need it there. Want to put it on the beach? Absolutely. I could care less. The beach is ruined anyways. But as far as not ruined, it's still a beautiful beach. I love it. Like I said, I've been here since '79, and it's a beautiful city, and I just hate to see that go in there. That would just ruin it, I think. You're building a brand new pier, everything else, and then you want to put Slum City in here. And I'm more worried about wash water coming out. My yard's semi-floods. And what if a hurricane comes? You got 1,000 more people trying to get on the road to get out of here. We all gonna have to leave a week, 10 days early just to get out, and then it doesn't come. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. I don't care if it comes down here or not, you know? But anyhow, that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Mike.
And I appreciate you listening to me and giving me the chance to say how I said it.
I'm Sandy Green, and I live at 1017 South Poplar Drive. Everybody knows that's at 10th Avenue South and Poplar, and the Dairy Queen has made it a nightmare to get out of. The Dairy Queen, during tourist season, it's a nightmare getting. I can't imagine dealing with 1,000 more people across the street. We really don't have the roads for this year round. We don't. It's bad enough. And everybody says our tourist season, but we have just about gotten year round with our snowbirds that come down and spend all winter with us. Our grocery shelves right now are partially stocked. hopefully our economy will get better and things like that will pick up. But right now, we don't have that in this little town to accommodate that many people. And I want my small town small. I'm originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. I know what big does. I know what big does. I was there for 58 years before I moved here. And I've been here 7. We don't want that, guys. We don't want Myrtle Beach. We don't even want North Myrtle. And we sure as heck don't want Charleston. Please think seriously before sending this through. We can have plenty of commercial property over there. I own commercial property in Charlotte. I sold it as commercial property. Could I have sold it as housing? Yes, it was downtown Charlotte. Millions of condos going up. But I chose not to do that to the community I was in. Just think about it, guys. We love y'all. We appreciate all the hard work you do, every one of you. I love our police department, our fire department. This is just not for Surfside. I don't feel. And I hope y'all think about it long and hard before we do something like this. Thank you very much.
My name is Mary Jo Doggett. I live at 515 12th Avenue North. We've been residents here, permanent residents, for about 15 years. I represent not 100 people, but 150 people that weren't allowed in here tonight. And I'm just saying that I am going to speak for them too, because we all agree we don't want this. I like my fire department. I like my sanitation. The sanitation men even came in my house one day and helped me get my husband up. And we have already have shuttles that are bringing people in from across 17 there from the whatever that is, sanitation. We don't need shuttles and bringing more people to the beach. We got enough people. And you got a hotel at one end, you got a hotel here. We don't need apartments. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mary.
Hi, my name is Josh Pierce. I live on 8 Shady Oak Lane. I attended last meeting in the, what was it, the 29th. I apologize for my lack of composure on that one. I had a rather awful headache, and now today somebody has said something atrocious to my little brother in the parking lot, so I'm not exactly composed today either. I hear a lot of talk about the traffic in Surfside. I don't think that we can complain about traffic and then also complain about the shuttles. It's not really a good, shuttles take people out of cars, they take them to a place they want to go, and it reduces traffic. So buses, shuttles, etc. takes away from traffic. Furthermore, commercial is probably the worst option that's been discussed as per the estimates given by the engineer. So I am very against that, as the trips per, what was it, per month or per year, whatever. The amount of trips, ooh, you can answer my questions. The amount of trips taken are going to go up for commercial, and I mean, the Dairy Queen should be evidence enough of that. The commercial trips there are, as one person said, awful. Where was I going with this? The people that are going to drive need other options. If you build single-family housing, those people are not going to be able to walk. Single-family housing makes it less walkable than apartment spaces. And if you give the people the option to walk, many people will walk or cycle to the beach, which reduces traffic on 17 and traffic on the roads. Surfside's pretty walkable for the most part once you cross 17, so we're all good there. It is rather difficult to cross 17 as a pedestrian, though. You get 3 or 4 places to do so. Surfside Drive, 10th Avenue South both have crosswalks, and then the new light over at, what is it, Platte Boulevard in front of Plantation and all of that does not have a crosswalk. There's no crosswalk on the, is it 16th, I believe, the one in front of Surfside First Baptist, the light there. There's no crosswalk there because it's only a light on one side of the street. Yeah, it's only a light on one side of the street. And then the next crosswalk is at Ocean Lakes. So if I were anything a little to the north of Surfside Drive, and I said, I have to walk across the street, I either have to cross 4 lanes of traffic, or I have to go all the way to Surfside Drive or to Ocean Lakes and cross, and then go, where am I going to go to the beach at? And make my way to the beach. So walkability should be a primary concern in moving people. I know me in Carapines, I'm 0.7 miles away from 3 grocery stores, and I don't want to walk to a single one of them. Piggly Wiggly is probably the most walkable, but I have to go all the way down Glens Bay, and then I have to, which is a scary thing to walk, and then I have to cross at the crosswalk and hope nobody hits me there. And then I have to go across a large parking lot to Piggly Wiggly. If I want to go to the Food Lion down yonder here on 17, I can walk through my neighborhood, and that's pretty jolly good until I get to the end of my neighborhood, in which case there is no sidewalk or walking path or any pedestrian facility to get me there. So I would have to walk on the side of 17. And if I want to go to the grocery store, the Food Lion on Glens Bay, I would have to walk down Glens Bay, which it's scary, and then I have to cross Glens Bay at some point. If I cross it outside of my house, it's 3 lanes, which is scary enough. If I want to cross closer to the grocery store, it's 5 lanes. There is a crosswalk down there, but again, people can, it's running red light. It's all scary to cross 5 lanes of traffic. I don't enjoy it. So I do not walk to the grocery store, I drive. If I could walk, I would not drive. I would walk or I would bike to the grocery store, and it would be a pleasanter experience. And I think many of these people that are going to move in here would share the same sentiment, especially being even closer to that grocery store. And with the mixed use commercial that it's planned to put in, it would allow other options for them to explore other than just a grocery store. Maybe something different comes into one of those units and it gives them something to do. The more options that we give people outside of a car-centric nature, the less people we have on the roads, because we can't just keep building one more lane. Expanding lanes never fixes traffic. The Katy Freeway in Texas and I-5 in California are both great evidence of this. You can't just keep adding lanes and expecting, more traffic flow. They end up filling up, and then it's just a great big parking lot in the sky. And I like my little town here too, as everybody said. We can't keep widening roads and trying to accommodate people like that. It won't work. The only ways that we get around that is with public transportation and walkability. And single-family housing is not going to be as walkable as an apartment complex, where my walk is, instead of walking from the back of my neighborhood, it's walking down a flight of stairs and going out the door. So that would be a preferred option. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
And also, if there's anybody in here who isn't speaking, please, there are a lot of people in the parking lot, so let's make our way out. Thank you.
Next.
Yeah, my name's Terry Eisenberg. Address is 1004 Lizzie Lane. And of course, that is on the other side of Business 17. But we, Minard Landing Village borders this proposed development. And I was going to talk about the traffic patterns and the fact that if they're saying that traffic can go through Palladium, get out to Spanish Oak, well, that probably isn't going to happen, because we'll put automated gates up because we don't want that traffic. The other thing I wanted to say, I was listening to the presentation. It seemed to me, if you boil it down, the first half was talking about how much money can I give you guys? How much taxes can I give to you? And the other half was trying to explain away the storm water problem and this potential problem and the parking problem. So one thing I didn't hear was what are we going to contribute to the town and to this area? Are we going to contribute any entertainment? Are we going to contribute cultural things? I didn't hear one word about what they're gonna contribute here. All I heard about was, here, we'll give you guys a stack of money. And I'm not trying to say they're trying to buy a vote, but that's all they have to offer. So, those of us on the other side of 17, we're certainly with Surfside in this matter. We're neighboring communities, so we also have an interest. And I can tell you, we sure don't want that monstrosity sitting down there. And the next question will be, once they get that in, well, what about the horror store? What about the flea market? Well, yeah, we can put another 500 places there. What about the empty land, going north on 17? Oh, yeah, well, they opened the gates. How are you going to turn that down? So, we're definitely opposed to it. And maybe somebody up in North Myrtle Beach could use their project.
Thank you, Terry.
Hello, my name is Ted Levinsky, and I'm here tonight representing the Carapines community. We have 402 homes, as you know, right to the west of you. And we have a couple of concerns that we want to make sure that you look at them. And the first thing is, everybody has traffic, oh my God. I can tell you even funny stories about it, but anyway, I've even talked to Chief Hill about it, and he says any place they put down new asphalt, it's a speed rate as soon as they open the road up. As you know, they rebuilt Glens Bay Road, and we were gonna have maybe some, traffic because of it. Well, the traffic came into our development trying to shortcut, and they were riding around in circles trying to get out. So it was kind of comedy in a way, but it's just a concern that, with something like this in construction, are we gonna run into that problem again? And actually, our main purpose of our association, believe it or not, back in 1983, was made because the county told us we had to have a homeowners association because we had a flooding problem. And they did not want to address it by one or two people. So they said, come as a group. And that's why we were formed. And we don't want to, what happens is, if you look at the topography, we're only 12 feet off the ocean. And we're really low. And anybody around us that does anything, it just causes a problem. We have the county factors in there working now. And I'm with hope that you would talk to the county about what this project would do with water. Because right now we've got the problem is how to make water run uphill. And you know what I mean? So God help us all. But anyway, I just want to let you know that that's our problem and that's why we're here, to let you know. And hopefully, you can work out something with the county, possibly something that could work. But every time it rains, we got 3 or 4 houses that flood over there. It's a disaster. Then when they added those new homes off of Spanish Oak, they flooded their own development, the one across the street from them. So I'm just saying that it's all a lowland, so it's a big problem. And so that's why we're here. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ted. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Mary Anthony, 710 13th Avenue North, Surfside. I want to start with, I'm new to the area, relatively new to the area, and there's a reason being. You guys have a gem. I now have a gem. This area is outstanding. And everybody outside, I'm from Pennsylvania, you talk to people from PA, they have heard of Surfside. And you know what else? They know that Myrtle Beach, stay away from Myrtle Beach, try to vacation in Surfside. So obviously, whoever's developing or trying to build this area, they know that this area is ripe for the picking. But the decision that you make in regards to this development will change the face of this town. It may not do it tomorrow, it may not do it next year. Trust me, in the next 5 to 10 years, it will change everything, everything. So your decision is a huge one, because the reason why everybody is here and everybody loves this town so much, what you're gonna do could change that for everybody. That's pretty much it.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Susan Minger. I live at 712 North Dogwood Drive. I built a house here about 2 years ago, and I found a lot of obstacles in building here. Surfside has got a lot of rules, and they've changed over time. Obviously, there's a lot of homes that have been grandfathered in, and I had to do a lot of things to my property that other houses don't have to do, and that's fine. But I hear now we've got a situation where we're talking about an area that's not zoned for housing. And I think that you need to listen to your community, which is saying, I mean, I'm here with some friends that are still out in the parking lot, couldn't come in. And that's a huge thing. Like, we can't come in and say how we feel or listen to the meeting. You couldn't accommodate us all, bottom line. But I just think that I know parking is an issue. On 7th Avenue North, they are building new homes that go up to Ocean Boulevard. And I know that the parking committee has been trying to accommodate more parking spaces. And yet people come along on 7th and park on these vacant lots. Well, now they're being built. If you drive there now, I think by the time summer starts, all the empty property there will be built. So that means that those 10 cars that have been pulling on these vacant lots, they're going to be looking for free places to park, come this summer. So whatever they offer the residents, if they build this over in that area, they're still going to want to come over here. They're going to want to park when they have company come to visit. You're struggling with that already. The next thing I can see is there's going to be this thing about wanting to build a parking garage. And it just makes me cringe, because I feel like I moved here the same reason everybody else did. It's just a great family environment. I walk every day 5 miles in this community. I feel safe. I walk at night. I feel safe. I feel like you right now can accommodate the residents you have with all of the services that you provide. But you add another 1,000, I just can't imagine what that's going to create for Surfside itself. So I really just wanted my voice to be heard. My friends out in the parking lot, they said, speak for us. So hopefully, you're hearing us. It's not about the money, it's about keeping our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
I was one of the parking lot dwellers with her, so thanks for allowing us in. Paul Moss, I live at 114 11th Avenue South. So I was outside, as I mentioned, and I heard a couple of words. Couldn't hear everything that was going on out there, but got some of it. And I heard them talk about a slippery slope with regard to projects. So I wonder, what's potentially next that asks for a zoning change? Is it one of the strip shopping centers here? Is it a flea market, right? All things that would concern all the folks here. We just watched the wooded area south of Surfside clear cut to build the tiny homes. All that has added to the challenges around traffic here. I understand we can't do anything about the decisions that are made south. What we can control is the decisions that are made here, right? North, south, they're all going to impact us eventually, but we can impact the decision that's made right here on this project. I heard someone mention breathing room. We came to Surfside 3 years ago because we wanted breathing room. We had vacationed north of here and realized that's not where we wanted to be. So if you try to get through the light, I think, as was mentioned already, the light at 10th Avenue or Melody Lane on the 17th, it's not just bad in July, but it's bad in December. Also heard mention of a shuttle to the beach. This creates issues not just for our season, but creates issues for our seasonal tourists and for our residents. And then I heard someone mention the monstrosities out on 17. all the residents being built there. But where do you think these people are gonna go to the beach? They're gonna find a way to get over here, right? How long before some young entrepreneur says, hey, if I take a 6-pack golf cart, I can shuttle people back and forth from a parking lot. They're gonna find a way. The beach is beautiful. It's where people wanna be. Something else we need to think about. I heard someone say that the town will need to grow. It needs to grow. So the 3 years that I've been here, I've seen houses popping up on vacant lots all over town. To me, this town is growing. And as it grows, it's growing with a tax base where the properties are selling for, pick a number, 600, 800. We all see the million plus properties popping up that we're able to tax. So in my mind, the town is growing. So not a fan of the project, as you might be able to tell, but thank you for your time.
Thank you, Paul.
Chandler Murphy. I also live in Carapines, but I do have rental property on First Avenue North in Surfside. Have had it for 20 years. Being a low country resident and playing at this beach my whole life growing up, we've pulled people out of bogs because the roads were dirt. And so the changes that have taken place at this beach have been phenomenal. And it has earned the right to be called the family beach. However, I don't think that the proposed building that you're talking about for the water park would be an attractive addition for our family beach. I grew up on a farm on the other side of Georgetown, and when my daddy and my brother died, there was nothing but women and children left, and we made a decision to sell that farm. It broke my heart. I visited the graveyard to tell my daddy how terrible I felt about what I was getting ready to do. But before we sold it, we put an ad in the paper to take a bid from the local people that would keep that area pristine. And right now, one of the neighbors in our community bought it, and it is growing crop to feed people and animals, and still staying pristine, and not high rises or people coming from wherever to purchase to do things that that community just didn't want. And I think that it would be a genuine idea for the council, and I do appreciate all of you, to consider something that would maintain the great family beach that Surfside is, instead of just adding more people. I mean, listen, I know everybody wants to live here too, but maybe they just can't. Maybe you just can't do that. So I appreciate your time and all of your efforts, and I certainly hope that the decision that is made is certainly for the people of this great place. Thank you for your time.
Good story.
Tom Dodge, 8th Avenue South. I've been here for over 30 years. What impact is this going to have on Highway 17? Is it going to be more red lights, more entrances and exits? And if John Grisham were going to write a book about this, I guess he'd call it The Rape of Surfside Beach. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Howdy. I'm one of the outside people too. Thanks for letting me in. Appreciate it. I'm also from New Jersey. Oh, Jackie Haig, 1711, 17 South. I've lived down here since '08. I've been coming here since '96. I love this area. I think it's beautiful, but I hate math. So I'm sitting there outside with my little cell phone trying to figure out the math that they were telling you. And they were saying that it would be about 600K currently trips that exist for a park that's only open about 5 months a year. We would, if you do the math that they said a lower number. It should be about 2.75 million trips would be generated by the new community. So you're talking about tripling, per se. I suck at math. How many people will be on the roads out there? Think about what Dairy Queen did to 10th Avenue. So if you triple that, you're adding a lot more traffic, and we really don't have the infrastructure for it. I try to take my little golf cart over to Dairy Queen, and I'm stuck there for a while. But I am from New Jersey, so I will get out. But I'm just saying that it can't handle the volume, and we need to really be aware of it, besides all the other impacts. I just want you guys, I know you're doing a great job, and just to give you the perspective of, it's triple what they were talking about, because they didn't do the 12 months versus the 5 months. That's all. Thank you so much. Thanks for letting me in. I appreciate it.
You guys are killing me. I love the Dairy Queen.
I love it. I love it. It's great, but it's just affecting the traffic.
Robin Parton, 514 Pine Drive, right down the street. I'm gonna keep it really short and sweet. I own a business at 825 Surfside Drive. It's home decor, interior design. So you would think I would want all these new apartments to come in because people would be coming to my store and buying it. However, I live here, and I live right down the street here, and we have our power go out all the time because we have squirrels. But it is going, thank goodness I am on the same grid, power grid, as the police department and the fire department, so it gets on pretty quick. But we have it go out on a regular basis. This week, in fact, it was out for about 3 hours. So I'm saying that there's going to be a huge power grid overload, I would think, by putting that many more apartments in. I know that would be addressed a little bit in the building, but I mean, how much is that going to affect? I also want to say that you had I counted over 100 people outside who didn't get in, and I counted at least 50 leaving because they couldn't get in. And those of us that were outside, we were standing around a golf cart listening, and just by cheers, when people would make comments, it lets you know that all that 150 people did not want this development to happen.
Thank you, Robin.
Patricia Magliette, 104 Harbor Drive. Can you all hear me?
Yep.
I'll make this real short and sweet. We are at traffic jam level, moving into gridlock. We have them all year round, our wonderful tourists, our snow bunnies, and us that live here, and business traffic. We are, as I said, going into gridlock. This means 3 important things. A delay time responding, because we can't always pull over to the side of the road. Sometimes there is no side of the road. That's how jammed up the street is. That means delayed time going to a burning fire, delayed time going to a violent intruder, or delayed time going to a deadly medical emergency, like for instance in a heart attack, even the first minute counts. Okay, that's my traffic jam gridlock speech. Final subject. For the 1,000 people coming in, our town drainage is good, but the pipes are only so big and only able to handle at some point a finite amount, a limited amount of people's water. So if you're going to need more drainage, the only way you're going to get that is probably to put bigger pipes in the ground. That's very expensive. Okay, so think about 1,000 people. That's 1,000 toilets flushing, 1,000 dishwashers running, 1,000 washing machines running, and a whole lot more water. And there's going to be a whole lot of drainage, and it doesn't sound like a good fit for us. I think that land could be sold and used for something better than more people. If you have a safety factor of only so many people allowed in a room, why don't we have a safety factor of only so much population allowed in a town, what is at the outer limits of its infrastructure? Well, think about it, please. We appreciate your hard work, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
My name is Sherry Conrad. I live on Cedar and 10th Avenue South. So I want you to just picture this same proposal of a high-rise going along Glens Bay Road. If you put something of that high density at the end of 10th Avenue, we don't have pullovers like you do on Surfside Drive. We don't have parking along Surfside Drive. Already, I turn out of my street and head towards the Dairy Queen, and I'm behind golf carts, which can't really stay stable up that hill. And so we're backed up way past Poplar, just to get across the street. Just to envision a high-density development at the end of 10th would turn 10th Avenue into Highway 501. We need ramps, we need an overpass, and what are they gonna do when they come across? That's not just cars, that's golf carts. So everybody I know on Carroll Pine and Harbor Village, they have golf carts, that's how they get to the beach. So we're not talking about parking spaces, we're talking about 2 or 3 cars plus a golf cart. But just envision a high-density area like that at the end of 10th is just devastating to me. I can't tell you what Dairy Queen has done. And by the way, they hire at $10 an hour. Because I worked there, I wanted to see what was going on. I'm actually pleased because it is the type of business that brings happy people and calm people. But before you consider high density or something so ugly, you need a 2-lane road. You need Glens Bay Road. Can you picture these apartments going down Glens Bay Road, bordering that street? You would not approve it. Now I'm trying to picture it at the other side of my street. So I'm against it.
Thank you, Sharon. Yep.
My name is Betsy Shalinski, and I'm very upset with all of you because with this meeting, you should have had a bigger building where the people could be in and hear easy, very hard, very great for that woman during the golf cart. You could hear.
Miss Betty, what was your address? If you'll tell me in the microphone, your address.
1061 Lizzie Lane, Mallard Village.
Thank you.
I'm concerned about the traffic, the water, and of course the taxes are going to go back up. But I'm ashamed of all of you for not thinking of a bigger area so we could have come in and heard a little bit more and not being freezing out there. You're going to ruin Surfside. It's a beautiful area. You're going to ruin everything. It's not going to be the same. You have a beautiful part of Surfside. You have everything nice. Go to Florida and see what it looks like down there, and it's going to start looking around here with the traffic and everything else. You've got a beautiful, my kids come down for vacation and they love Surfside. They think that's beautiful. So I would like to know, I did not hear who the engineers are. Standing outside, I'd like their name, and I'd like to see where, what are you going to do with the amount of cars and stuff? And how are you going to route them? Can you send me something so I can?
I'll tell you what.
We couldn't.
That's what they gave us. You can have my copy. That'll
Okay.
give you traffic counts, some aerial photographs. So
Happy with all of this?
you're gonna find out shortly.
I don't understand. I mean, I guess it would be beautiful for a community park and a swimming pool and adding more people to lifeguards and everything else.
We can think it up.
It's
Just hearing it.
just been proposed to us. So
Okay.
we're just listening.
Well, I hope,
We appreciate your input.
yeah, because it would be beautiful. We're standing out there. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Hannah Priest. Excuse me. Excuse me. My name is Hannah Priest. I live at 1403 Windrift Court. That's right behind the water park. The little placards that were put up around the water park didn't say the time or the date of this meeting. It was a large oversight. We actually had to get flyers from somebody in Mallard's Landing who spoke, Cindy. A bunch of issues have been beat to death. I would like to point out that a lot of the numbers for the revenue projections for a multifamily housing unit were based on actual residents. They had talked about vehicle registration and property taxes, whereas we know based on what's going on currently in our area and in other more developed areas that those aren't going to necessarily be permanent residents. They're going to be rentals. They're going to be sublet online. They're not necessarily going to be bringing in those revenue projections that are supposed to be supporting that kind of building. So the town wouldn't be getting the money that was projected. I would also like to point out that there are sometimes from our neighborhood that we can't get to the beach because of the traffic from just the flea market, and that's only open a couple times a week. And I would be concerned about that kind of level of traffic every day, especially around the mornings and evenings with the school kids coming in and out. And I hope that you guys take everyone's opinions into consideration when you're making your decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. Any other public comments? Okay.
Liz Bonson, 1415 North Poplar. I'm going to be really brief. And from my perspective, if this does not make sense from a safety perspective, doesn't make sense from a financial perspective, and the residents don't want it, this should not happen. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more comments? Is there anybody left outside?
There is plenty outside, but they don't speak.
Okay, everybody's good? Okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to speak. That's why we're here. We good? Good, sir. Okay. I will close the public comment section of the public hearing, and I will circle back to commission comments. Alex has already had his turn.
Mr. Chair.
Good job.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Wow, I heard 1,000 reasons not to approve this. The one I came in with, a few people, I know the Coleman's picked up on it, and some other lady did too. My biggest concern is a future threat to the town's cultural survival at all. If we approve one residential development on the west side of 17, we're opening the door to residential developments in all the large properties over there. So, how many of you have thought about this reason? That significant an increase in population would actually shift the voting power to the residents of the new apartments on the west side of 17. There'd be new voters with no particular cultural ties to our town, and they would have enough votes to change everything. They could change height limits, could have unrestricted fireworks, parking garages, you name it. It wouldn't take long to destroy the family beach entirely. I can't support any part of this proposal for even one residential unit over there. That's all I have.
Let's go down the line. We'll let you go next, Mike.
For starters, I want to say thank you to everyone. Can y'all hear me? I want to say thank you for everyone coming out. Really appreciate the feedback. Understand that we didn't have a great venue for everyone, but this is by far the biggest turnout we've ever had. So hard to anticipate this many people coming out. So thank you. Getting into the project itself, I'm not in favor of the project. I don't think it fits the town aesthetic. I also think we're opening up a huge can of worms if we allow residential west of 17. we spoke about adjacent parcels. We've even covered adjacent parcels in a lot of our prior meetings to help direct us when we're talking about other projects. And then if we pull the trigger here, we have to, that's gonna weigh in on future considerations, not just for this commission, but subsequent commissions. I still don't like how many of our ordinances are broken or bent for the proposed development. I understand, our height concerns last time were so the water park could continue to operate until sold. But I just don't think it fits the town aesthetic. I don't think that the parking stretches, the stormwater, the traffic concerns. I also brought up traffic concerns last time. I don't think that those are adequately addressed for the parcel. I definitely do want to say I appreciate what you guys are doing. I understand best fiscal use is always worth asking for. And, I also want to preface this to the townspeople and say that there are a number of allowable uses on this project as it stands for how it's zoned. So we're not talking about those tonight, and there could be a project that does not come before this commission. So just want to go ahead and get that out there. But anyway, thank you, everyone. That's where I'm standing on that.
Thank you, Mike.
So I agree wholeheartedly with what has been said already. And so I won't belabor those same points. I will add that it's against our comprehensive plan to have residential in that location. And I do agree wholeheartedly that it is a slippery slope that we would be going down. I very much appreciate everyone who came out, those folks who live in our city, our town limits, and the ones who don't. And we are going to be discussing our new comprehensive plan over the next 9 months or so. Until September, okay. And it is really important for you guys to be here and participate in that, because that's our plan for the next 10 years. So please, you're here tonight, show up for that too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Yep, appreciate everybody coming out. I do apologize for the facilities as well. I know it's kind of burden for everybody to come and want to speak and share their mind, and we have to put y'all outside, but hopefully we get in front of that for the council when they take this vote. So I'm sure that we'll probably be able to accommodate it a lot more, but I do apologize for that. Outside of that, I'm not going to continue talking that much. I believe I have heard you, everyone that's here tonight, and I will just touch back to each one of your comments, and I thank you for them.
Thank you. I hate to be repetitive, but I'm going to circle back to what I said a month ago. We've been going through the comp plan now for 8 months, 10 months, better part of this year. And a lot of what was proposed to us with this development goes right against what we've been studying for 10 months. And I'm talking about, your traffic congestion, your density, is this the optimum land use? That's why the ordinance was changed in 2015 to not allow residential in C1 where we could optimize this property to stay commercial. Stormwater issues. I mean, if you live in Horry County right now, you've gone from probably 100-year, a 500-year to 100-year, or vice versa, floodplain. Why? Development. Seen all the best engineering stats on stormwater, but that's all they are. Put them into reality, you got water in your yard. Infrastructure pressures, I heard this. Compatible uses. I mean, I'm just not throwing these, but these are things we have been talking about for a while. So this commission is very aware of what is being proposed and what we see as a vision of Surfside Beach. We all live here. We all have a vested interest. So we're going to have to take a vote. But I'm with everybody else. I've always told my kids, the worst thing somebody can tell you is no. So I don't have a problem with what's been brought to us because they're trying to optimize their money, right? It's not going to be hurt you to tell you no. You just got to go back to the drawing board and, let's find something that works for Mr. Lazarus, the engineering, and what works for Surfside Beach. So that's all I've got to say. I will write notes on every piece of paper. I will open it up now. The commission is to make a recommendation to town council. And before we do that, I will say on January the 10th, this will have first reading at town council. I would suggest maybe going to the Methodist Church on 13th Avenue North to get the gymnasium. I mean, I'm sitting up here thinking this whole time, where's their venue big enough? If we're going to have this many people, we got to have a place. And I apologize bottom of my heart. I've never seen this many people in all my years. But I appreciate it. And I'm sorry you stuck around and we let you come up. And I love to hear your opinions. But we will need a gymnasium, and if you did miss the presentation, you'll get to see it again. So, sorry about that. But back to, I will entertain a motion from this commission to make a recommendation to town council.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Ladies.
You good.
I move the planning commission recommend disapproval of this rezoning request.
Second. Second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you on the 10th, but I would like to get a copy of the actual list of uses in front of the council that's allowed actually in the current amusement PD, because I think there's some misinformation in terms of what we can actually do with that property in terms of the limits that are allowed on it. So
I think they were part of our packet here. Yes. So it's
correct. I just want to make sure that we can talk about those uses and look forward to planning with whatever we decide to in the comp plan if we want to look at some of those uses.
Absolutely.
But I did want to thank everybody for coming out. This was asking what we could. I still think it's a good project. I can't do anything about the town wanting to stay small, but the project itself was well designed.
Thank you for your patience. We've got a little bit more work to do, so if you guys want to hang around, you can. If not, I'll give you a few minutes to stretch your legs. Thank you, sir.
So on the 10th of January, it goes for the first reading, you said?
Yes, town council.
Okay.
Ours is just a recommendation. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank all of y'all.
Yeah. No, just.
Hey, you've been there.
No, I'm just gonna let them, give them a minute. Sure they're tired. They want to hear the rest of this presentation. Sabrina's gonna write.
It's gonna be the fastest presentation ever.
All right.
Thank you.
Really good.
Appreciate it. No. Sherry Slade. She didn't even hear it.
Nobody else did that.
I know, I'm on this mic again.
I'll hear it.
Well, all right. Everybody about ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I know. I did. Okay. Give her a few minutes. Get out of the corner now. You spread out a little bit.
Let y'all take a foot of it.
Oh, you get your turn. You get your turn.
I bet you won't be that bad.
No.
It won't be that bad because y'all said no.
You said no, so some
Oh, so we should have said, never. We call that vote again.
I gotta make it back home, man.
That was cute.
No, I mean, I'm talking about, I don't want to get jumped.
Like I say, that was, some of these things are easy and some are hard. That was easy. to me. Okay, we have got, amend chapter 17, article 4, supplemental district regulations of the town zoning ordinance. Yeah, this is a public hearing for these, I ran them off and now I got another public hearing. That was not good. Supplemental district regulations for town zoning ordinance. Any public comments concerning the amendments on chapter 17? Hearing none, seeing none. What you got?
Okay, I'm gonna be brief, but I did want to tell you, we were gonna have the public hearing last month, but after the meeting in October, we actually did have some citizens and residents of the town come in and ask if they could look at it and maybe give us a few suggestions, and I said, absolutely, I think the commission would like that, and we certainly would welcome it. So in your package, you have the proposal for Article 4. The yellow highlighted areas are the recommendations of staff or for consideration, and the green, which is not that much, actually, they came in with several pages, but they actually belong, the recommendations belong in a separate article of the zoning ordinance. So you're gonna be getting those, but they won't be in this section. But the changes since last month is real, some of them are just housekeeping. And I think Mr. Sansel pointed it out, or someone pointed it out, it might have been Mr. McCracken last meeting, but section 17408, page 3, we did leave out, it said residential, and it should say residential or commercial for the shipping containers.
Okay.
Yeah, D, shipping containers, tractor trailers have original intent purpose other than as a residential, and it should say or commercial storage. So that was just clean up. Under that same section, same page, section 17408.3. The residents actually came in and asked that it said, add a 7 and 8. 7 would be in no case shall an accessory structure exceed the square footage of the primary structure. And we do have, believe it or not, a few of those in town where the accessory structures are larger than the primary structure. The other is limit the number of accessory structures to 2 per lot. Of course, those that have more than 2 is grandfathered in, but we do have the proposal to limit the commercial, and they said it should also be limited to residential. But you'll see in a few minutes why that may or may not matter.
They did look at commercial and recommended that instead of the 10 feet was absolutely just a recommendation. Mr. Sansel asked at the last meeting that we went over this, if the 10 feet was required by code, and we said no. We had just recommended the 10 because of the potential fire. So they asked that the board consider a 5-foot setback, just as it is in the residential. And shall not cover more than 20, we said 20% of the rear of the yard, they're asking for 30. That's why I gave you this little example. So if you live in zone R2, which this lot is located, this is a new single family. The setback requirements for an accessory structure is 5 feet. This is the code now. And you have to be 5 feet from the sides and the rear. The total impervious allowed in that zoning district is 45%. Lot coverage is allowed 30%. That includes the building or any other structures is on the lot. So if you go with 30%, which is what the residents asked for, you could have an approximately 360 square foot accessory structure. If you stay with the 20%, you can have approximately 240 square foot of accessory structure. But on this particular lot, the existing impervious used is 34. You can have 45, so they do have room for that. But the existing lot coverage for this lot has already been maxed out by the house. So it doesn't matter what the code says that you can have, as either it be 30 or 20%, they can't have an accessory structure at all.
Well, typically this being an R2 is going to be probably a 60-foot or 90-foot lot too.
That's correct. See, this one's this is 56.2, so it's a existing non-conforming. So you're going to be limited by the square footage you can have as an accessory based on the size of your home anyway. And then this was house cleaning. Actually, one of the commercial owners came in and pointed this out because they had a problem with their neighbors doing this. The merchandise or rental permitted this is all commercial. They asked that we add merchandise being displayed shall be associated with the business used and products being sold by the business. So, for example, if you got a restaurant, you don't have a used car out in the front saying for sale. They want to eliminate that because that has happened. I thought that was a good idea. Except in C2, and this is for open displays. Right now it says shall observe a setback of 10 feet from the right of way and 5 feet from any rear and side property. I can tell you that never happens. And that is a nightmare to enforce. So we're asking that you consider removing that and putting just open displays shall not encroach in the streets right away. It's easier to enforce, and when you tell someone that's got a very small lot in a commercial district that you got to meet the setback requirements, but you can't put it in a parking space, they can't put out open display if that's the case. So it's a catch-22. But if you say shall not encroach in the setbacks, they do still have, it's the street right away, they have a little leeway. And the other C is exactly like A. For temporary outdoor displays, it has to be, whatever you're displaying has to be associated with the business use and product being sold by the business.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Going back up before, it says shall not encroach in the streets right away. What's the definition of encroach?
You can't be in the right of way at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. And we have a lot of it on 17, especially in summer, where they put their wares or whatever, the golf carts. We have to go by not every, but the majority of the golf cart businesses in town on 17. They're supposed, and we tell them you got to meet this 10-foot setback. They look at you like you're crazy. One, I'm trying to rent these things, which we understand. We absolutely understand that. You want to be as close, but you can't be in the right of way. And a lot of these, especially the golf carts, they'll pull them all the way to 17 if they could. So we have to tell them to back up, go to your property line, which violates the code. But it is very difficult. When you tell them to get back 10 feet, they're going to move them back 10 feet until we leave, and then they're going to move them right back up, which I get. They're trying to sell them. So we want to eliminate that because it's just too hard to enforce. but keep them off the right of way. And we tell those on 17, that's a state road. We've contacted DOT several times, and they said as long as they're beyond the light poles, we're happy. So that's what they do.
So zero tolerance is what you're saying.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's all the changes that we have, we're recommending.
Let me ask you a question real quick. I don't mean to keep us here, but I read through this 17406. Tell me the thought process by going with a 2/3 vote based on a full council quorum versus just a majority, 4 out of 7 or 4 out of 6.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't vote if you got it the way it's written. You can't vote if you only got 6 members.
That's correct. That's right.
Got to have a full council and 2/3 of that, which is 5.
That's correct. And that was actually written by a council member. That was not, and we presented it at the request of council. And they did not want, they felt like that was such an important vote, and it is a very important vote, that everyone on council should vote when you're gonna change the heights in the town of Surfside Beach. That's why they wanted everyone here.
And I wish they'd do it for all zoning.
Well, let's face it,
Yeah.
say there's a bunch of them that are important.
Well, and you can change that and say all of them, but
Yeah.
they felt like it was that, and that is a very important, it's a very, hot topic in Surfside Beach, obviously. We do still have some people coming in and asking for a higher, especially for houses, just like, the developer said tonight, well, you measure it differently. We do measure it differently, and we've had several people go to the Board of Zoning Appeals and ask for a variance, and there's a reason we measure it differently. We don't want Myrtle Beach, and we don't want anywhere else. We want to be unique to Surfside. So, because it's such an important topic for the town, they want it to be a vote of the entire council.
Well, I think proof is in the pudding, back about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
With this commission. We don't want anything to change.
Right.
I mean, their first discussion about their request for 70 feet over there, why do you need 70 feet and you got 4 stories and it calculates to 43? Doesn't make any sense. So I understand it, but it seems a little knee-jerk to me, but I can live with it.
And what does happen if we're just down a council member?
It has to wait 2 more weeks.
Or
for an election.
if we're down a council member, something happens to
But
somebody.
the way it's written, it says full council.
That's correct.
I have to wait for a special election.
It's full council. That's what I didn't, that's what I was like.
So, Mr.
Not a
Chair,
quorum, but full council.
Why would we have a rush to approve a height limit change? We shouldn't have any urgency.
And that's his argument, so. And again, you're just making recommendations, council's gonna have to.
I mean, it would come back before us if we were gonna change the height limits, right?
It would, but they don't have to take your recommendations.
Oh, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Oh, no, I interrupted. So I was actually curious with the supermajority. It's actually more common in towns than I would have guessed. You can Google it. It's for items that folks deem sacred, to preserve something as it is. So the notion is if you're down one council, you're just not going to change. So council's not going to capitalize on being down 1 or 2 people. It is
So
a
it'd just
protection.
be a 3 vote or
It's a
something.
protection shield to say, you better really, really, really know what's going on here, and you've got to have more than just a small term. So it fits in with, Congress uses supermajority rules, right? It's a frequently used item. It's not something strange.
Mr. Chair.
Yes,
So
sir.
Sabrina, I'm looking over this. I know how I had brought it up at the last meeting around how do we allow the storage buildings for a commercial property if it impedes on the parking spaces, the minimum amount of parking spaces? Did we not add that?
We do not, we don't allow, it's actually not allowed in the overlay district in that section of the code. So if they want a storage building, it had to be in the rear, it would have to meet these requirements, and it could not be in a parking space.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
And
I'm sorry, I meant to address that.
that you know of, are there, I think I asked this last time, but that you know of? Are there any businesses that it would impact, these changes would impact now?
Not negatively, no.
Okay.
Michael?
On section 17408.3, item 7, in no case shall an accessory structure exceed the square footage of the primary structure. Is there a reason why we're saying in a structure, but then just below we said that they can have 2 structures?
That's a good point. That needs to be reworded.
To the total square footage of accessory structures on the property or parcel can't exceed
Right,
the primary.
exactly, thank you. Total square
Brain's
footage.
not fried, is it?
Yes,
I made,
good
I
catch.
made notes earlier.
Okay, well, that's good.
I didn't know if there was a reason we didn't, so.
No, there's not, thank you for catching that.
Okay, any other discussion concerning chapter 17, amended changes on chapter 17? I will entertain a motion for a recommendation or no recommendation to council on this request.
I make a motion that we recommend adoption of chapter 17 as amended, including the late change to section 17408.3, item number 7, to remove and add structures.
No second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I need clarification on, on 17408.3, the shall cover not more than, it says 20% now, and the residents that looked at it asked for 30%, so I'll need to know if it's gonna be 20 or 30. And then on 4084, A shall be a minimum of 10 feet from all property lines, they're asking for 5, and then again on A5, they're asking for that 30% in the rear yard. I just need to know which one I need
So
to.
my motion was under the assumption that the green took priority.
Okay.
Okay.
Because that 30%, it has a governor, as you illustrated there,
Yeah, it
on it
does.
with the lot coverage and impervious
Sure.
rate, so there's.
That's fine. As long as everybody understands the green is taking precedent. You second, bro.
Yeah, I'll maintain the second.
Thank
you. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Motion carries. Public comments.
We dare you.
Okay, hearing none. It says Director, Information for Commission.
I have been speaking with the comprehensive plan, committee, and they are actually planning to make a trip here in January. They had talked about January 10th. I don't know if that's a good day. So I'm going to talk to them again, on Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, and we'll discuss another date, and then I'll get in touch with the planning commission. They had talked about, forming a subcommittee, and I asked that the subcommittee be the planning commission, because you're the ones that are going to have to recommend. I did have a request from a business owner. They, several months ago, we did, or the planning commission recommended to council, the permitted uses in the zoning districts, they had to be listed because that was recommended by the American Planning Association. And even then, it was said that if there's some that we're gonna miss, some of the uses, there's gonna be brand new businesses that we're not gonna know about, and there's gonna be businesses that maybe we would hope we wouldn't remember. But one of the business owners asked, vape shops and tobacco shops are not allowed in town. They're not listed as permitted use, and they're not allowed.
We have them, don't
We do, and they're grandfathered. But if someone new wants to come in, we tell them that it's not listed. But it is a legally allowed use in the state of South Carolina. So what they have to be allowed. You can restrict where they're allowed. We've restricted some of the uses on Sandy Lane, which I know you all remember. But vape shops and tobacco shops, I know that's gonna be coming back to the board, the commission. So is there any, feedback or recommendations as to where they might be allowed in town? Cause I know what they're gonna ask.
Sandy Lane.
I wish we had that light industrial zone that disappeared.
Well, we can bring that back if you, we had it ready for council for planning.
Why did it die?
We were told by a higher, than I got paid to take it off the table.
I figured.
Yeah, but we can bring it back.
It was
It's
magically
ready.
disappeared.
Exactly. And it's still in our comp plan to have that as industrial, so we can bring it back.
Anybody else think we ought to bring that back and look at it?
The industrial zones, which was on Sandy Lane and then down Glens Bay Road.
Are we looking to change it or expand it?
It never
or-
happened.
No, it was never rezoned.
We recommended it and somebody in staff disappeared it
Oh, yeah, we have.
years ago.
Okay, well, I'll bring that back as a,
Sleight of hand.
Yeah.
as a discussion item, then to be considered, okay? All right. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any commission comments?
Well, we got 3 council members present. So first, like just going through numbers and math, I think the town should feel pretty good about the fact that we've got lower staff per capita, lower public safety per capita, lower debt, lower expense, right? Every metric you could look at, almost every metric you look at, doing so much better than other towns around us, which creates freedom of choice. And that's a good thing. We got a pig through the python moment with the pier, right? There's all the drama, there's tons of costs, all this stuff, but it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's actually, hopefully, going to be a tourism draw. I think with this proposed community, no amount of financial gymnastics can make this anything other than a detraction on our financial savings, let alone the culture and everything else. But I slimmed down every possible projection to get down to $675,000 of cost. That's a little bit of turning down tourism, hair dropping rental rates, just a hair 1% less in licenses that go out, let alone adding a couple of staff, not even at the rate that other towns add staff when these events happen. And if they're saying it's going to be about $140,000 of income all in, maybe some additional items will pop in, and that's still 5 times the amount of expense. So this is like, there is no crystal ball, but pretty damn close is the other annual financial reports from other towns around us. So I shouted out some stats that we do really well with. They change quickly when, there's some fuzzy math or knee-jerk reactions to big things like this. So I'm not trying to preach or anything, sound preaching, but I like that. Just really struggle with this one. And I hope all of you go through all the details of all this and really twist it and see what comes out the other end with 3, 6, 10 years down the road on it. So appreciate in advance the amount of time you'll take considering this upcoming decision. Thank you.
I think I've said about enough, but I would like to repeat what I keep saying. I do not believe it is the responsibility of this town to accommodate the county's overdevelopment problems.
Everybody good? I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Sandy, I thought it's gonna go to 10 o'clock.